The purpose of today is to talk about reading problems and reading difficulties and how phonological awareness impacts that word reading skill. And this continuum that we're showing here is the one that is something that Dr. Kilpatrick had mentioned in the article, and saying that this is the continuum of phonological skill, right? Where the top 60% of students in phonological awareness generally learn to read fluently via most literacy practices if provided with core explicit systematic phonological awareness and phonics instruction. Now, I definitely want to note that that 60% figure will certainly vary depending on your school and the circumstances from which you or your students are coming, and any sort of risk factors that they may be exhibiting. So in some schools, that 60% may look more like 10% or 20%, whereas 40% of students, in a kind of general population, will require more explicit, smaller group, some remediation and instruction in phonological awareness and foundational skills. Phonological awareness is the most predictive of all K3 reading skills. And when we say predictive, we mean if we know your beginning level of phonological awareness in kindergarten and first grade, and we know that no particular intervention will be done or no improvement will be made, we can predict how well you'll do on the FSA. We can predict how well or not well you'll do on 5th grade FSA, and how likely you are to be placed in an intensive reading class in middle and high school. And when articles will use the term at risk as kind of shorthand for kids with weak phonological awareness difficulties, we often think of risk factors as other things like socioeconomic status and parental education level, or even intelligence, when intelligence actually has no relation to phonemic awareness and phonological awareness. But by far the biggest indicator of your future reading skill is your level of your phonological skill, which is nice because we don't have any control over socioeconomic status. We don't have any control over lots of things that our students are bringing with them to school, but we certainly have control over their phonological instruction. We just wanted to highlight here how small beginning differences in phonological skill can actually lead to these much larger difficulties later on in word reading skills. So this graph here, notice how even, and this graph starts in first grade. Notice how small the difference is between the low and the average phonological awareness student versus how big of a difference their word identification skills are in 5th grade, right? 2 years difference when starting with a very, very small difference in kindergarten. And that serves to highlight that just a little bit of extra instruction, a little bit more quick improvement in phonological awareness can have these disproportionately large and positive outcomes for kids in both word identification, and we'll see in the next slide in reading comprehension as well. So this graph is same. The blue line are students who have average phonological awareness, and the red line is students who have low phonological awareness. And you can see that the line and it corresponds to their reading comprehension grade level. So the number one impediment to your reading comprehension in K5 is your word reading skills, your word reading accuracy and fluency. And the single biggest component of your ability to read words accurately and fluently is your phonemic awareness. But it's important to note here that a note about those early phonological skills, right? Your compound word reading awareness, your syllable awareness, your onset rhyme skills. These are not actually sufficient to develop proficiency in actual word reading and word spelling. It's only at that basic phoneme level when kids can actually start to blend phonemes to read words and to segment phonemes for proficient spelling. That's when true reading and spelling skills start at that basic phoneme level. This is the general progression of phonological skill from simple to more complex. And this pyramid can actually apply to skills at the syllable level, at the onset rhyme level, or at the phoneme level. So for example, we can work with students doing syllable isolation, segmentation, blending, addition, deletion, substitution, or onset rhyme isolation, and so on. But the majority of your phonological instruction for kindergarten, really, again, starting at that mid-year, should focus on phoneme level skills and moving up from isolation to blending to segmentation. And it's at these skills where we're really setting up kids to take off in first grade with their decoding and spelling skills.